I had a microphone. Hello, Michelle. Just going to put on a little intro before Dr. Joe comes in the house. This is from Soulogy Soul Gathering we had in Sedona a couple of weekends ago. It's a gentleman by the name of Sturius Miracula and a couple of other good friends, Neil and Jade. This is filmed by my friend Sherilyn. Thank you for putting this up at your house, Sherilyn. We appreciate it. Here we go. this is the kind of stuff that can happen when we all step out of the box and start to co-create and collaborate without any ego. We're just bringing our soul, letting it shine, and getting past the point of embarrassment or what anybody thinks. We've got somebody who is evidently technologically challenged, who tends to come to the party showing his ass, showing his brain, showing his heart, showing it all, not being afraid to do that. That's Dr. Joe Delaney, who we've been doing a couple of shows a month for the last 6 or 8 months. So let me go ahead and bring him on. And let's just all prepare ourselves, say a prayer for yourself, because we have no idea what we're in store with him. If these shows resonate with you, please share so we can stay above the algorithms on Facebook and YouTube. And thank you for your continued love, support, and contributions that allow us to keep doing this every day. We're going to do our best every single day and get up and broadcast as much as we can. Here's Dr. Joe. Let's see how he's doing today. Anybody's having any problems, you can come into the Zoom room and watch this if you're getting knocked off on Facebook. Let's see. I don't see him now. I don't know what happened to him. Looks like he's having a problem. Uh-oh. Looks like he's turned into some type of a Egyptian hieroglyphic or something. I'm not really sure what's going on. All right, Dr. Joe, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think it's you. I don't know. It could be one of these birds or this funny looking cross here.
Good heavens.
There you are. What's happening? Melissa Dehan says, "What's the crack, lads? What's the crack?" I don't know. You said my man boobs are bigger than yours, but I wonder if the crack of your ass is bigger than mine.
Well, we'll go into one of those competitions when we meet in physical one day.
No, I don't think so. No. The only one's going to see my ass is Morgan. That's about it.
Listen, mate, don't knock it till you've tried it.
Oh my God, I've tried everything and I'm done. So, I'm just here for the ride. So it's what is it? October 14th. It's the day after the full moon around the world. Not that I even know what the hell that means, but yeah, it keeps on moving. We're moving towards the end of the year, going into 2020. And hey, isn't it interesting, Dr. Joe, watching all these energies, including my own, including the multidimensional energies within myself, but watching all this stuff go by. I remember the important words: don't, or what is it? Observe, don't absorb.
Yeah. Don't take the bait. It's
Don't
hard.
Take the bait.
It's hard, mate, isn't it? It's hard. I've been listening to many people. I've been talking to many people, and everybody seems to be going through emotional turmoil, except, of course, the truly enlightened ones. Right. I don't know many. I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't know many of those.
And it's so weird. Yeah. Go ahead.
It is, and I think I've been going through hell recently. For the past 6 weeks, it's been really, really a testing time, but it seems to have settled down a bit now, and I'm proud of myself, mate, because during all these seeming bombardments, I've remained relatively calm, cool, calm, and collected most of the time. And for me, and looking back how I used to be, any slight emotional tug and I'd be off into like the drama queen scenario, look what you've done to me. And I know now, Todd, and we've spoken often enough that, I'm responsible for the way I process information, and that to me is what the judgment is. It's either good or bad or healthy or harmful, right? But everything I saw was a threat to my ego. And I realized today that once you start to understand that any tug, any emotional disturbance, I don't say any emotional feeling, I say any emotional disturbance is a lesson to be learned. And there are some people say, there aren't any lessons and this, that, and the other. This is just the way I talk, really, And so the police out there can back off a bit and give me some space, right? Because this is what I'm trying to explain. I don't mean to be offensive to anybody, but I really don't need your advice, right? Unless I ask you for it, right? And that's tricky, because sometimes when you share openly and honestly from the heart, therein as quick as a flash. How do I know,
Yeah.
Todd? Because this is what I used to be like. I could save the world, but I saved the world, right? Because I could see exactly what everybody else needed to do. But about myself, I didn't have a bloody clue, mate, you know. And once I got told this
Isn't
joke,
that
sorry, mate, go on.
huh? No, I want to hear the joke.
Yeah, yeah,
What'd you say? What?
I'm just saying that, you know, I knew what everybody else should have done, but I couldn't apply the same principles to my own life, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
realizing
and you know, we have a lag. I'm sorry. I'm not interrupting you on purpose. Go ahead.
I don't believe you.
Shanine says I saw my baby on a scan for the first time today, and now I am on cloud nine. Ha ha! I was definitely anxious and didn't realize. And he was hung like, oh no, I shouldn't say that part. You didn't catch that. So no, you know, I knew, you know, because we got over here to this remote cabin in Northern California, which is quite interesting. I think we've been here 3 nights now, and 2 nights ago, I got called out of bed at 22 in the morning. Come outside, Todd. One of those. And I went outside, and there was a bear 30 feet from me, chomping on some berries. And we just looked at each other for a while. And I'm like, is this really happening? And, you know, and these kinds of things bring you back down to, you know, who am I? Who am I that God would know my name? You know, that kind of thing. But I knew
We've frozen. Hello? Hello? Toddy boy, can you hear me? I don't know where he's gone. I don't know whether you can hear me, but send us a message if you can still hear me, please. Okay. Well, it will be better now without Todd because he keeps interrupting me and interfering with this with this wonderful flow of information. And you know me, I'm just joking all the time because from one moment to the next, I've really got no idea what's going on. But I have a feeling that everything's going to be okay and that we're being helped more than we can possibly realize to go through this very transitional, transforming, and very often disrupting times. Um, I feel lost and alone without Todd because he's like my guardian angel. You know, he's so full of wisdom and wit that I hardly know what to say. But I always need somebody to talk to, really, so I can take the Mickey out of or take the piss out of. But Gloria, thanks very much, and Pia, nice to see you. Right, I'll just keep talking and just to pass on some information about my good friend Shanine. You know, she's um, she's created a place or a space where if you want to develop your psych psychotic, probably psychotic, but psychic abilities. It's called the Clairvoyant Cafe. And I encourage you to go over, have a little peep, and consider joining, because it's a place for, as far as I see it, I don't need to be disrespectful, but it's a place for all sorts of weirdos to hang out and express their true feelings about what's going on in life rather than editing anything, is just to open up, share what's going on. And in that very process, I think that refinement takes place. I love you. And I love your owl fella as well. Oh God, talking of owl fellas, here comes Todd Medina. He's back again.
I'm glad that you kept going, dude. I hope you got my message. Man, that was
I
weird.
didn't
That's the
make,
first
no,
time I
no.
said. I wanted to. What I was getting to was I knew that when she scheduled you, because I woke up feeling a certain way this morning. You know, I
Mhm.
woke up feeling a little bit agitated on a few different fronts. One is okay, because you brought up a couple of points. One is, I think we all have it within us. We want to help. We want to serve the collective. And to your point earlier about your own self discovery and self awareness, and your ability to look back now because of what you have been, you start to develop your intellect and your skills and your abilities, and you start to share and you start to say, "Oh, I'm kind of clever," you know, and and then it starts to shift. So I do think that there's a great value, and we see it every day with people like you and other people out there sharing, just sharing from the intention. It may be a little bit shadowed, maybe you're a little bit flawed, maybe I don't see this in myself, but I'm sharing here. And so I was a little bit agitated, like, when can this thing I see in my head that I've been carrying in my head for so long, when is this going to actually materialize? I'm trying to be in flow. I'm trying to be, relaxed about it. So I'm a little bit there with myself. And then at the same time, on the subject you brought up earlier, which is very interesting because Morgan and I had a session last night. What is this that makes me uncomfortable about these things that these people say and do? Okay. Like, I'm going to be very open here. I think I just lost a very good friend, who I considered a very good friend, somebody who I felt like was very kindred. No explanation, just the reference that someone around me or myself is low vibrational and they don't want to associate with me. Nothing's been said, but this isn't the first time I've seen this pattern of people talking to other people, and then those people taking that in as gospel without any opportunity for explanation or defense or whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm not getting caught up in that. What I'm getting to is what you were saying and what Morgan and I, with her direction, looked into last night within ourselves, which was, it's not about what the people say. It's not about what somebody else is willing to listen to. And it's not about that. It's about, why does it make me uncomfortable? Why am I uncomfortable about what somebody else does? And as long as I'm focused on what they did or what they didn't do, or what they said that was real or wasn't real, or the fact that they would even do it, or whatever the case is, why does it make me uncomfortable? Why does it make me uncomfortable? Am I embarrassed? Am I ashamed? Am I hurt? Whatever the case is. So we did this. She has these cards, these incredible cards called O cards, which tap into the subconscious basically.
Yeah.
And they work like a charm if you can get the ego mind out of it. And and so I got to the point where I was like, well, we worked through it, and it was basically a kind of situation where one of their cards, their visual cards and then word cards, and you put them together. On one of the rounds, the last card was a donkey with some saddlebags on its haunches, and of course, Morgan, how funny she is. The first thing she says, well, the first thing I looked at, am I an asshole?
Yeah.
Am I an ass? Which is really funny, but it's a good point in bringing it into yourself. What is it about me? Not about them, but about me. But the thing that the card ended with, I guess, was, do I want to carry these with me? Look at all that weight. Do I want to carry this with me? And regardless of he said, she said, I know, I don't know, I'm aware of, or I'm not aware of, conscious or unconscious of, regardless of all that, do I want to take this frequency with me? And if I choose not to take it with me, can I walk away in unity and not create more separation? Because separation only occurs from ourself, period. I don't care what anyone does to you. And I know we've all had some horrible things happen in our lives, but the fact is the fact. There is no middle ground. So I really kind of feel like that's what you were talking about earlier, and dealing with this stuff that you've been dealing with. I know because you made a comment a while back about your life has imploded since you met this crazy Mexican a few months ago. But in all seriousness, it sounds like you're doing battle, for lack of a better word. You're doing work. You're doing growth with Dr. Joe and not with anybody else now.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. And the donkey thing is significant to me because it brings up regarding you. I thought donkey, a Chinese expression came to mind, well hung. And then after, after, after that cleared my mind, right? It reminded me of a story about the donkey that was carrying Jesus through the streets of Jerusalem, you know, and the crowd was clapping, and the donkey stepped up in pride in this egomania, right? And he was all chuffed, you see, because he thought that everybody was clapping him, right? Until his friend, another donkey, said, right, um, don't forget you're only carrying the message. You aren't the message. You're only carrying the message. And what that means to me is that the ego always wants to know, why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling up? Why am I feeling down? Why has this happened with my friend? What do I do next? And all that. It's this very, very deep, insecure need to know, because it represents, if it finds out what's actually happening, if it doesn't like what's coming up, it can duck and dive and avoid the situation. And I think, Todd, and we've talked about this before, and I could be completely wrong, mate. If we know what's coming up beforehand, right, we interfere and probably change the whole process. So I think that once you let go of the ego's need to know, and you just do and take action, and what emerges from the soul, right, without needing to know anything, and trusting in blind faith almost, right? Once you feel the impulse that's taking you forward and carry on the action, then it all becomes clear. And Todd, what I found out is you never get to find out beforehand. It's always looking backwards that you see, I see what was happening there. Now, I don't know whether that makes any sense. The other thing is the
No, it
donkey's
makes
friend,
it makes
the donkey's friend, right? He kept repeating the same message. He ho, he ho, he ho, he ho. He always said that, right? I'll leave it to you now to say something quickly.
So, uh, God, you really, no, you said something a minute ago. And as the cards played out, she took a turn, I took a turn. The After the donkey thing, there was a word, and I can't remember what it was. God, it was perfect too. But anyway, the card that came with it was a farmer standing in the field, throwing seeds out. And then she said, well, that's it. I can leave this behind, right? And just focus on planting seeds. And when my round came, mine kind of ended the same way, which I think for me, what it means is, just keep sharing to the best of your ability. Share. Yeah. Am I going to wake up some mornings and be a little bit off kilter and maybe drop a few F bombs or get emotional or project? Hopefully not as much as I used to. And I think we're all getting softer. A lot of that stuff's fading away. But for me, the big message is, whether it's a family member spreading BS about me, or whether it's a colleague or a professional or personal acquaintance who has cut me off because someone said this or someone said that, if I focus on that story, if I focus on, he did this or she said that, or how dare them, and that whole ego thing you were just talking about, if one iota of my attention is there, then that's one iota of my attention that's not here. And this is an inside job. This is the unveiling. This is the apocalypse, but it's the unveiling of ourselves. And this is what blows my mind, Dr. Joe. We have all this cosmic, galactic, fantastical stuff, and it's real. But that stuff was already here. That stuff was already us. We're here in this is the present moment. This is the out of breath of Mother Creation. And to think that the most human parts of us are the parts that free us up the most and expand this universe is mind blowing. Because
Absolutely.
we think it's so menial and it's so, just so insignificant. But the fact is, it's upside down. These prison doors that we open up, these shadows that we remove, this bullshit that we call ourselves on, and all that stuff is what frees up the gold. This is where I'm at. Or coming
I'm in
to. I don't
exactly the
have it.
same place. Same place,
Yeah.
mate. Because the human, in my opinion, is the hero. What I keep getting is
Mhm.
salt of the earth, right? Worms are turning. This transformation will happen from the bottom up and from the inside out. And I can see that that's what's happening. The ordinary people, Todd, are turning this round and becoming extraordinary. You know, and this shift, this wave, this big transformative wave in consciousness that's sweeping the planet is all about. It's saying, let go now and be shown the full potential of being human. And I've talked before about the heart being representative of the Christ, not Jesus. Jesus was representative of the Christ, in my opinion, right? But I feel that the 12 disciples are connected to the heart, and they represent the 12 possibilities and intelligences of every human being on this planet. And there are people waking up every day with more and more abilities that have been hidden, right? And I think that they're being shaken up now, and all the shit's flying off them, and the light of these different potentials is coming to the fore. And I think it's those that will link up. And as I've said to you before, it's the heart, which is the 13th, right? The 13th chakra, in my opinion. We've got a mum and dad
Yeah.
God above that 14 and 15 dimensions, but the 13 to me is the Christ. It's connected to the 12 disciples, and that when it's fully awakened, then that will link on to another 12, then another 12, then another 12, and this whole untangling will encircle the planet. Todd, I get this stuff all the time. And then I say to spirit or God or intuition or whatever it is I'm talking to, I say, well, okay, then help me to put this in simple terms so that people can take practical steps to get rid of all the chains that have bound us. And that's what's happening, Todd. I'm getting all the information in sort of cosmic code. It's translated into medical and technical terms, and then I'm being shown how to show people one step at a time what to do next. And Todd, that I've said this before: become aware of your breathing. End of story.
Yeah.
Because once you
Yeah.
get a sense of your breathing, the rhythm of the breathing, the quality of your breath, whether you're breathing in most of the time through your left nostril or your right nostril, all these things here impact upon the way your nervous system works. And that
Yeah.
impacts upon the way that you feel. So it's really all about getting to the point where you stop interfering with the breathing and the breathing breathes you. And I think that that's
Yeah.
freedom. That's the 0 point, Todd. And what I'm trying to do is with neuroscientific stuff and with simple advice, I'm trying to show people how they can technically get into this zero space quicker, because once they're in that, then they will get the downloads or the uploads or the information dumps that they need specifically for their soul to express itself through the human body. My God, I should have taped that. That was like really good there.
That's how it works though, man. You can't like prepare for this stuff. This just flows out. You said three things. I'm gonna try to pull back all three. One, the thing about the breathing, because there is so much going on with this stuff. It gets overcomplicated, and I think we're starting to reduce those complications now and focus less and less on so many multitude of things that come our way. But one thing that is very simple is the breathing, and it was interesting because I think it was 2 nights ago, when we connected as we do every night, we clasp hands, and then connect. We never know what's going to happen. Hopefully Todd's it's going to get lucky, but sometimes that doesn't work. I'm just kidding. But as we connected the other night, she got really quiet, and so we both did our own thing, which is not out of the normal. But the next day when we were talking about it, she was telling me that she was being instructed on breath, and which brought me back to what you're talking about, which was the very simplistic thing. No matter where you are, what you're doing, what's happening, whether you're in some other dimension and you're like going, am I really here, or you're in the back alley, or you're here, there, wherever, you can always ground through this breathing thing. And I think myself and many other people have reached a Kundalini experience. My first one was in my mid-20s, and it was through breathing, and I didn't even know what I was doing, but the machinations of the spiritual body aligned with the physical body somehow through my breath, through this meditation I did every night, and that's what kicked it off. So the breathing is a simple way, regardless of the different types and explanations of processes, modalities, and that type of thing, that we can all get to, even without instruction, because it's not difficult to do. It's a great way to listen to your body. You said something as, oh, we were eating dinner last night, and Morgan was listening to Cryon. Now I've never listened to, I don't listen to too many extended presentations like that anyway, but I've tried to listen to him 4, 5, 6 times, and I can't recall ever listening very long. Doesn't mean that I know he's got great information, great code availability, and that type of thing, because I know a lot of friends that are into it. But this particular one was from this month, and it said The Old Soul Revolution was the name of it, I believe. It's October 2019, Cryon. And it was really interesting what he was talking about. And it was talking about what you were just bringing up about yourself, the masses. How do I bring this to the collective? How do I fulfill my role and explain what I'm being given, right? Which a lot of people are coming across. And what he was saying was really, really interesting. He said that the people like you and the many people that are tuned in, probably everybody that's tuned in right now, uh, through the years had always been outcast. That even in the indigenous and primitive cultures, they had to live outside of the village because they were constantly being approached by, help me with this and help me with that, and what's going on with the weather, and, change the weather for, so there was this kind of impact or experience. And I think everyone here can relate to that. We've all been the outcast. We've all been what we thought was a black sheep. Now we realize we're a golden child. But what he was saying is that the time has come where this is going to be flipped upside down. The time has come where these individuals, these old souls who have always had this frequency, are going to start to step up. And as they step up, people, the masses, the vast masses, are going to see. They don't need an explanation. They're just going to look at these people and say, oh my God, you're looking younger. Oh my God, you did this, you did that. Or, you know what I mean? These miraculous supernatural things, this to the human only eyes, is going to be seen for what it is. And that we are going to be called to service just by the mass solicitation from the masses of, hey, I want some of that, show me the way. And the other thing that he said that was really interesting is he said that even now that Indian elders, like Native American elders and Aboriginal elders, are being contacted by the medical industry, brought into hospitals and healing people. And they're not even concerned with how did you do it. They're just knowing that they can do it. This is the kind of vibration that he said is coming, and it's not just coming, it's upon us already. So I think that where he was going with it as well was that he realized, or he was explaining that I realized that many of you have had a lot of frustration, and kind of like what we talk about, you've been waiting a long time to share it. Now is the time. The universe has got your back. Everything's going to flip upside down. So I think those answers are going to come for you and for many others like you.
Todd, I agree, and I'm feeling it happening, and I don't know everything, and just a small part really, and I listen intently to any information that further refines my understanding of things. And it's not a need to know, it's an understanding, really. And where I can see I'm placed is I seem to be fortunate in that I can say scientific words and have some understanding of them. But I can also talk to ordinary people as well, for want of a better way, the salt of the earth. And it's like science and spirituality is merging now all by itself. Because on the one hand, we've got science that wants to reduce things to the finest particle possible. And on the other hand, we've got the cosmos that wants to go out as far as it possible, but they come back round again and they meet at the same point. And the same point is the Big Bang. It's the initial spark. It's the God particle. It's all this sort of stuff. So I'm starting to get information from all these different dimensions now. And not only can I sort of translate this cosmic information into 3D information, which seems to spark people's interest, but also I can show people practical techniques that will help their energy to be unobstructed and then flow. Because as I've said to you before, we all talk about embodying the soul, right? And I don't know whether it works like that, because what I think is that we've all got some sort of psychopathology of sorts, and a soul sickness, it's being called, but I don't believe that the soul isn't sick. It's just, it's blocked from expressing its full potential. It's the ego construction or the ego curriculum that we come in with, that we've set ourselves up for. When we're in the soul curriculum department saying, what sort of study do you want to do this time, Joe? Oh, I'd like to do that alcoholic one. That looks good, So you sign up to become an alcoholic and they say, you'll forget this. Are you sure you want to do this? Because this is quite a difficult one. Yeah, go on then. And the child comes out with the curriculum, and it's got to work through the curriculum. I just want to talk about suicide, Todd, because I'm getting this a lot, right? That I tried, as you know, a couple of occasions to really do myself in, because I was completely and utterly lost. Call me a lost soul. I was hurting myself. I was hurting the people around me, and I just couldn't take anymore. So I made a really strong resolve to kill myself, because I just couldn't handle it, And there's a phrase that say both nature and God alike abhor suicide. And I don't know where that came from, but anyway, it didn't work, obviously. Right. And what I've realized now is in the great soul's eternal progress, right, when people choose to go back to spirit, it's obviously their free will choice because they can't handle it. But it's almost like everything stops and they get put back to exactly the same place that they left off, but maybe in a different form. That's what I'm starting to see now. So if anybody's depressed and really thinking about these things, just share openly and honestly with somebody who's on this vibration. And just the very act of opening up and being honest about it will release some pressure and maybe let the sunlight of the spirit come in to guide them more and more. This to me is about complete surrender to something that's bigger than you, that you'll never get your head round, but you might start to feel that it's with you. There we are. I'm on one again, but just get your head, throw it as far as you can away, and just start working with what works for you. Bless you.
God,
In nomine Patris et Filio. You are now blessed. And by the way, when you said about getting together with your beloved, that you might get lucky, do you know what, Todd? She might have got lucky. There you are, mate. And I don't care what she's saying behind me back, and behind your back.
That's the journey of the sacred sexual journey, right?
Yeah.
You made me laugh, and I forgot what you were going to say. Well, the first thing I was going to say is you said something. I lost it now.
Sorry.
I lost that one. Oh my God, you threw me way off there. But okay, so I think one of the things that I don't know, that seems to me materializing to me is, now if I look at Franco Di Nicola's intel, and he talks about the ego being an implant in an inverted 3D matrix, and we've had him on several times this year, and it's very consistent intel. So, and again, everyone's got to make up their own mind about everything, but I'm not just citing him. I'm citing Amanda Lawrence, and I'm citing Morgan, and I'm citing Jason Estes. There's many other people out there, and that's just a few. Broder, who's coming on in after this show, 30 minutes after this show ends. There just seems to be some type of grain of truth to that. Some type of grain of truth to the simulation that we all designed, that we were all part of, that we all okayed. Okay, is coming to an end. Now, you can even look at the prophecies in all the sacred books, and they point to this time. Okay. So what I'm getting at is whether it's by design or not, or prediction, there seems to be enough people that have anchored this understanding, belief, and reality that we are divine, eternal beings, gods and goddesses, so to speak, living in this physical experience with purpose. Okay, with the purpose of expansion and growth, because that's all creation is. Uh, it, where they come to the understanding that, hey, the ego is not to be hated. It's not to be, to throw rocks at. It's actually to be honored, respected, not ignored, and loved. But it's not in charge. It was the teacher, and now it can sit in the passenger seat while, like you said, the soul, no longer obstructed, is driving the vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's what I see. It's like the Akashic was great. The Akashic is all things, but the ego is the reminder. It is the impetus for the growth, and it served us well. But so I think what I'm getting at is that we're moving into this situation, it seems to me, on a collective level, where the availability of a favorably reciprocal relationship with the universe in our physical existence is it's there for us. It's there, and it's not just on an individual basis, although it's actually collectively available. And this is what I see, and I'm not predicting anything, but this is what I feel about 2020. I feel like right now we're in these last 3 months. We're going to have, it's winter. We're going to have some cold, some darkness, but not in an evil or bad way. But we're going to have this like hibernation, like a moment, a suspended moment in time for contemplation, self-reflection, sharpening our acts, our skills and abilities in preparation for whatever this 2020 is, and no pun intended, but whatever, the 2020 thing, what you said about the hindsight, what you said, numbers, numerically, everything's aligning. 2020 just makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm excited about it. I really am. I'm excited about it. I wish I had some money in the bank? Do I wish I had stability? Do I wish I had a winter coat? Do I wish I had another pair of boots? Do I wish there was a website? Do I wish there was an independent stream already running? Do I wish my dreams were? Yes, but I'm still very excited about what's coming. It feels good.
I feel exactly the same way. I feel, and I've been talking to somebody again about this today, that January, that there's a groundswell now. It really seems to be coming in, but it seems to be focused. And I feel January 2020, to me, that's clear vision. Clear vision is another way to say clairvoyance. And I think once again is where refinding, where maybe refinding was the right word, but we're refining our skills, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, that's touch, smell, all the five senses, are being more and more refined, almost like extrasensory perception. But it isn't like I'm not talking about the sixth sense here. I'm talking about the five human senses. Our radars being extended, and we're picking up more information more readily so that it can be processed through the heart, and we can act in a way from intelligent kindness now. So you said something before about developing intellect. I think we need to let go of intellect, because that's what's blocked us. Right? Faulty logic a misdirected instinct for thousands upon thousands of years have actually misaligned us, and we've been going in the wrong direction. I think all that's been what I call quantum disentanglement. We're being like untied now, and we're being realigned with our individual soul's purpose and vibration, so that we can all enmesh together. Maybe enmesh is not the right word. Yeah, I'll use that. Enmesh together so that we form a beautiful, sacred, geometrical, perfect template of what it is to be a whole human being, or something like
Yeah.
that.
No, I agree. And what I was saying in that regard, I want to restate that because I totally agree with what you're saying. In fact, Morgan asked me last night, I don't know why, she comes up with these questions. She says, how would you judge your intelligence on a scale of 1 to 10? And I said, do you mean intellect?
Ah,
You know, intellect, which was what I was referring to. I'll go back to. And I thought about it and I thought, well, I'd say I'm about an 8.5, but it doesn't matter anymore. Like all that stuff, like I know I had a higher intellect 10 years ago because I was so caught up in everything and I was reading all the time, and it was all being fed to the intellect. But there's a huge difference between intellect and connection to infinite intelligence. Or if you want to go back to what you were saying earlier about the soul not being harmed or hurt, but actually just being blocked by this flip side of the coin, the ego, that's how I would judge it. And I said to myself, I'm about a 5, because I feel like, if I'm even a 5, because I feel like there's so much I'm not getting. But I also know that so much, that feeling of the so much I'm not getting is actually not the soul talking to me, it's the ego. you're not
yeah.
you're not all that. Joe can do that, but you can't do it.
Yeah.
Joe can put on that rainbow pink tutu and run a marathon, but you can't do that yet.
Ah,
but
but
yeah, so I think what I was getting at was that we've all got a call. Everyone has gotten a call of some degree or of another, something that they can say, you know what, this is my baby. I'm going to do this. And it could be a song, and it could be production, it could be whatever, it could be an organization, whatever. But so when we get that, we because there's a heart thing there, there's a desire, there's a heart thing, there's a service to collective thing there, even a service to self thing, honoring self. But we start to feed through the old paradigm, which is, I got to get this book, I got to get the certificate, and
yeah,
bullshit.
yeah,
We don't. That's the difference between the intellect and the intelligence. And I'm glad you brought that back up, because I could say I'm a 10 on an intellect level, but what I said, and I didn't say that, but what I said last night after I said what I said was, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. What means something to me is that connection to infinite intelligence. And I feel like as far as we've come, we're just dipping our toe into it at this point. And I think it's going to move at warp speed, like way quicker. I cringe when people say things like it's going to take generations, or it's going to take 15 years or 5. I cringe. I think this stuff can move so rapidly. And I'm all for that, because I think that's what we've been working towards.
I think that's why they call it the quickening, isn't it, Todd? But the paradox is get out of the way while it's processed for you, so you can see the picture more clearly. So as you say, it's to be chauffeur driven now. The intellect, along with the body, has been working and working and working like a slave. But the idea is, once you let go and be carried, you can see, oh Christ, that's what that was all about. That's where I feel I am now. It's almost like watching it transform before my very eyes. And I'm not doing the work. It's what the Zen would call effortless effort. You know, I feel that the only action I need to take is one that I'm guided through from my heart now. But then the thing is, the ego, well, what am I doing this for? Joe, it's got nothing to do with you. You will see. Get out of the effing way, because that's how my spirit talks to me, or my soul. Right. The effing soul for effing Dr. Joe. But the other thing is about titles.
Well,
People have said to me, let's be anonymous here. Don't say Dr. Joe. And I'm thinking, F off, because I worked really, really bloody hard to get that right. So I'm Dr. Joe.
absolutely.
And they say there's no such thing as a way shower. And I say, piss off. I am a way shower because that's my function. That's my purpose in life. You're like a guru, you. No, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm not, right? Because I'm just trying to learn new stuff all the time in order to improve the way this message comes through me. How to, And so when we try and learn something new, it's like we try and get hold of the opposite, the upside down bit is
Yeah.
the more you let go
Yeah.
of, the more you get to know. It's really really weird. So I don't. The ego is a magnificent tool, as you say. The problem is it's learning, it's ego attachment that we've got to let go of. And we've got to try and find what is that just attached onto. And they're mostly childhood fears or childhood likes and dislikes. Somebody that you spoke to recently, or it was something I saw, was this is all about showing up, but it's all about growing up as well, Todd. And lots
Yeah.
of people don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
It's not meant in any derogatory way, but the more you let
No.
go, the more you grow, the more you ascend, if you want to call it that, ascension and growing up, same thing to me. So we've got this vertical sort of impulse. Rather than going back and forward from left to right brain, we start to go up once we start to let go. And it's almost like a rocket whose tires are
Yeah.
coming off and the rocket's going up. These are all the images I see.
Yeah. 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 And the thing with, and I agree with you about nothing against, nothing against a diploma, and earn a doctorate, a PhD, undergraduate degree, whatever it is, whatever that is yours, whatever that is. So, and going back to what we were saying earlier, when somebody walks up and says, "Oh, there's no such thing as a waist shower," they're actually saying, "I have a problem with you,"
Yeah.
and I've been there, and you've been there, on both sides. Uh, I have a problem with you because I have a problem with me,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
and this is back to the dog chasing its tail deal, and it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary because it is about growing up, and I don't know what you were watching the other, but there was something somebody said, and then I was doing a radio show and I was recalling a story about Morgan, because I had asked Morgan a few days ago. I said, "When was the first time you heard the word ascension from your
Yeah.
higher self
Yeah.
in this 20-year period?" And she said that she's never used that term. She's always used the term growing up. You're growing up.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to bring up too is about the cryon thing that we listened to last night. In regard to what he called the old soul revolution, I think is what he called it. But in regard to the comment that this person or that person made, or whoever made, or I made, or whoever, because we can take things to the extreme and it just gets stupid and ridiculous. All right. And we minimize, and it's like nihilistic type of frequency. Um, in regard to the old souls, in regard to what we might call way showers, Blu-rays, star seats, whatever, Cryon's part of his explanation last night was talking about how we have always had this, that in every incarnation, this isn't our first rodeo. In
No.
every incarnation, we've had this ability to light up a room, to bring light, or whatever you want to call it. But another thing that he was saying in this video last night was, he was saying that we also carry with us in the cellular, obviously, in the memory banks, DNA, whatever, all the suppression, all the witch burnings, all the hangings, all
Yeah.
the stuff that we went through, and that we can now let it go because it's no longer here. And this is what's happening. Everything has flipped. So I think, if I look at anything in order to check myself right now, I know you can call it superabundance, you can call it dreams come true, you can call it whatever you want to. I know it's coming, and it's not just for me. I know it's coming in a way I can't even imagine. And I feel like that these next 2 or 3 months in preparation are actually best. So I'm best served to go deeper in humility, to go deeper in what is the true, how much responsibility comes with it. In other words, get ready for it, because if you look at the whole trip for all of us, what's the biggest fear? People can say the biggest fear is love, and all that stuff, but what's the biggest fear? To me, it's the fear of my own power. Like, oh, well, you can say, oh, I'm a god. Oh, okay, well, that's great. I'm God. I'm just a fractal having a experience in a human body, right? But really, what is God? What is goddess? What is creation? That's unlimited, unbridled power. That's absolute, full balls to the wall, do what you want, create what you want, the purity intention, the pure and more perpetuity that consciousness will go on and on and on and on and affect people, which is what we all want to do. I mean, that is something to me that I'm not ready for, but I'm going to do what I can to prepare for it.
I'm the same. I like the word whole on. I feel like I'm a whole on, a small part of the whole, or a holon, part of this holistic creation. And the true power
Mm.
comes when you fulfill your soul's purpose. And my soul's purpose may be similar to somebody else's, but it's not exactly the same, because my particular resonance will fit exactly with somebody else. I see it like a big orchestra that we're all playing a part. We're playing a particular vibration or instrument. And in the end, when we all start to play in tuned, right, in tune, then that's when we will feel the whole power of it. And I've experienced this. I've experienced it at the point where I tried to do myself in. I felt the peace that passeth all understanding. I was flooded with all sorts of mathematical codes and everything. And just for a moment or two, and it could have been for years or forever, I don't know. I just knew everything about everything, Todd, and I know that that potential's in me and it's in everybody else. So just for a second, I let go of everything and got hold of everything at the same time. And I think that my particular function in this is to help people in a simple way, just to practice their breathing, to practice their moving as well with a certain quality, right? And that will help them to that still point. And then they'll be guided one breath at a time, one step at a time, as to what to do next. And when people ask me, what shall I do next? I honestly say to them, I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. So how can I tell you? Right. And if I tell you and you take an action and it doesn't work properly according to you, you'll blame me. So take responsibility, work it out for yourself. That's what karma is. We have to work it out for ourselves. Right. And that's what we this sovereignty people are talking about. Sovereignty to me means allowing people the dignity to find out for themselves through trial and
Yeah.
error, through pain and joy, through
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. I agree with that. And, Morgan has a saying, which, I became familiar with it because she used it on me a lot. But I would say to her, why the hell didn't you just tell me? Why didn't you just tell me
Exactly.
I could do this or I could do that? And she said, why would I want to steal that from you? Why would I want you to even go forth thinking I did it for you? Now, this is not just about her and I, this is about what you're talking about. And that is, yes, when we achieve something and elevate or pull something in from infinite intelligence, yeah, it is, as she says, you start to feel clever and the ego starts to rise a little bit. But at the same time, there is this innate knowing presence within ourselves that expands. And what's more beautiful than the self-recognition of that sovereignty and of that spirit of that soul, uh, that seed that we are, like, oh my God, I'm actually, I mean, seriously, I do not put it out of the realm of possibilities that I could, teleport myself, right in there on that pillow between the two owls
Yeah.
in the very near future. Might
That's left
scare you
hemisphere,
and your wife.
left hemisphere and right hemisphere. And I have my head between those, right, in the night, you see. And then it just floods in, while Cryon of Magnetic Service is also talking to me through my headphones and stuff like that. No, but,
Right on.
information comes from anywhere, doesn't it? The whole thing is you can read a comic and still be inspired by it because it's the way that your soul processes it. And can I just say one thing that I've learned is you can't permanently do for somebody what they've eventually got to do for themselves. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So you can show them, you
Yeah.
can guide them, but then you've got to let go and say, right, you have a go now. Otherwise, they become reliant on you and you become reliant on them. And it's another trap. How do I know, Todd? Because I was an ambulance chaser for years. I'll save you,
Yeah.
darling. Don't worry. You know, I've gone through all that stuff, and then it becomes a bind. And the other thing is, I want to do what I have to do now because I would be completely and utterly unhappy to allow somebody else to do for me what I've got to do for myself. I wouldn't feel
Yeah.
self-worth. I wouldn't feel fulfilled because I know that there's certain things that I have to do in order to complete my part of this bargain. That's where I feel. And you know what? Like I've said to you before, I could be talking out of the back of my head here, but it doesn't feel like it at the moment.
No. No. No, I agree with you totally. And you know what? The new healer, well, we can't have the new healer, which is what's happening, because they have a higher, they have a higher state of awareness or more expanded awareness because they were the wounded healer. Because that wounded healer, if and when we were in that old cycle in one way or the other, on one end or the other or both, if I'm the wounded healer, I'm wounded. Uh, I'm only taking that client to a certain point because they're relying on me, and the truth is, I'm relying on them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this whole thing about the new healer isn't just about the healer, the practitionership, the vocation. It's actually a frequency, a wide open frequency. And you said it earlier, which I struggle with, but I find that's the best description. It's blind faith. It's blind faith to carry out this direction and guidance that I'm getting or you're getting, whoever's getting, whether it mean selling my stuff and moving to the other side of the world or wherever the case is. But it's blind faith because the return is coming in. It's not coming in like a lottery or a windfall, at least not by 3D standards. It's coming in just in little doses, like what are those little drops you put in your eyes or your ears or your mouth,
Yeah.
the little droppers that you get from the doctor. It's like a little drop, like a drip, 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 drip. And that's taken some getting used to, but I think there's enough evidence out there that it's actually happening. I think that's why it's so important for people like you and to be involved in something like this where people are actually talking about what's going on, with all aspects involved, most importantly the human aspect, and that includes the ego. Yeah.
See, I know we're coming to finishing soon, and I just something that's kept coming to me is you can't grow from where you're not, and that's where I was. You
Mm.
see, I thought I was in a different place, right? And it was not until somebody helped me to realize where exactly I was, right, that I started to grow from there. Then, and that takes a certain
Yeah.
amount of humility to start to admit, yeah, I see that. I've been pretending all my life. I've been afraid. I've been pretending to be something that I'm not. And now this is who I am. And to completely open your psyche up and open your chest and say, look, this is what I'm afraid of. So you can do an inventory of fears. You can do, these are the things that I've done and I've been trying to keep secret. It's when you completely open up your chest and your heart and allow the soul to come out. That's where you start to grow from a place of reality, then. And that's what
Yeah.
happened to me. And I really think that if you're hanging on to anything, find somebody, right, who you can trust, not somebody who's going to give you advice and you want to do this, and because that will come to you once you've offloaded the shit. And I really see that from a Roman Catholicism point of view. That's what I think that the ideal purpose or the primary purpose of the confessional was. You just got all the shit off your chest, but maybe some
Yeah.
well-intentioned priest or pope or something said, I know we can speed up the process here, tell them it's a sin so they won't do it again, you see. And so the whole idea was the good and the bad stop people from truly expressing all the crap that was bothering them. I say that's gone now. That's an old paradigm. Find someone you can trust,
Mm.
share it with them, right? And then don't give them any advice because they'll get that themselves. And once they walk out of the door, wash your hands, clean your head, and it's all forgotten then. It's just about,
Yeah.
can I just say, the other thing I wanted to say is I've missed you. I've missed you, right? And I've missed talking to you because, because you've had this little holiday, which is now over, thank goodness. I'm glad you're back, mate. And my love to you and my love to Morgan, because I know you're always chunneling away in the background, you know. And it's been a bloody pleasure talking to you tonight.
Yeah, let's do it again soon. I think we're going to get back on this thing. I'm not sure what it looks like yet, but we're going to be doing a lot of programming. And by the way, not because you're on here, but because I am starting to have a little more foresight into the program. We've only done 2 daily broadcasts. So that was day before yesterday and then yesterday. So I've got all these archives. I don't have all the archives, but I've got probably 5,000 hours plus here. And so today on the radio show, I found some good clips from the Dr. Joe and Shanine are on SoulSpeaks 5D episode. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit. That'll be a little bit later today. We've got Broder Bilal, our beloved brother, with his incredible intel coming on in 25 minutes. And then about 2 hours from now, Danny Picard is going to be on. And then after that, I'll do a radio show. And let me just say this to you, Dr. Joe. Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate the comments. I have missed you too. I enjoy doing this, and I know we're going to do it a lot more. And some things are coming to fruition now. And I see it as many dreams or missions coming together. So I know we're going to be working very close for a long time. And as soon as I can get out of the country, we can do it side by side. Best to you and your wife. Thank you very much. You take care and see you in the next couple of weeks or so. All right.
All right, mate. Thanks very much.